What is an INFP like? Take a deeper look and find out what makes this unique personality type tick. If you've already spent a bit of time researching this personality type, you probably know that the four-letter code that makes up the personality is really a combination of preferences. And when I say preferences, it's a preferred way of doing life. So in Myers-Briggs personality theory, there are 8 preferences, and they're broken down into dichotomous pairs, and there are 4 of those. The first of which is introversion and extroversion, the second, intuition and sensing, the third, thinking and feeling, and the fourth, judging and perceiving. And for the INFP, it's a combination of introversion, intuition, feeling, and perceiving. So just by taking a look at these preferences, you can learn quite a bit about the personality type, and chances are good you're probably familiar with that much. So while you can use the other preferences, and you definitely do in your day-to-day life, you would prefer, if you had the choice, hence preference, to use intuition, introversion, feeling, and perceiving. It's kind of like comparing the right hand and the left hand. And in fact, as a certified MBTI practitioner, I was taught to use that metaphor to explain the differences between preferences. So while you can use your left hand, and you definitely do, to take care of tasks in the day, if you're right-handed, you probably prefer to use your right hand. And if you're left-handed, while you can use your right hand, you'd prefer to use your left. So again, preferences can tell you a lot about your personality, but if you take a deeper dive, you can find out way more about your strengths and the reasons why you do what you do. Below the preferences are incredibly interesting mindsets that'll tell you a ton about your personality type. And these mindsets are commonly referred to in Myers-Briggs theory as cognitive functions. But what do you need to know about that? Well, if you're an INFP or you're connected to an INFP somehow, or just want to learn about INFPs, then you need to know 4 cognitive functions, or what I like to call mindsets, that make up this personality type. And they are introverted feeling, extroverted intuition, introverted sensing, and extraverted thinking. Now, I listed them in a particular order for a reason, because they occur in this order. They're actually in a power structure or hierarchy. So the first is the strongest and most influential in the personality. The second is the second most strongest, and so on down to the fourth, which is extroverted thinking. So if you really want to understand an INFP and what makes an INFP tick, then you need to take a look at introverted feeling. And introverted feeling is a mindset or function that is all about authenticity. It also has a very strong moral code, and it causes a person to want to advocate for people or causes that can't advocate for themselves. So oftentimes that might be people with disabilities, it might be children, it could be animals in particular circumstances, or it might be a particular group of people who are just generally overlooked that society will run over if the INFP doesn't step in. Now, this type of function causes the INFP to be especially tuned in to what makes him or her unique. So if you're an INFP watching this video, you, among all the personality types, are especially interested in what makes you you. So it actually will probably give you an interest in personality types in general, because you want to understand yourself and understand others so that you can see what sets you apart. And as an INFP, you are also passionate about being different, not just so that you can be apart from the group, but so that you can express yourself with authenticity and be true to who you really are. So your life will be a lifelong search for being the true you. And you can notice this in dress and even the way INFPs carry themselves. Again, it's not that they're trying to set themselves apart and shun everyone else. It's just that they want to be authentic. So most INFPs dress slightly differently than those around them, and they may combine clothes or hairstyles in a unique way that doesn't fit with the norm. And if they do fit with the norm, they're probably always trying out new clothes, new looks, new hairstyles to see which one is truly them. My mom is an INFP, and looking back at slideshows, we'd always laugh because it seemed like several times a year, or at least every year, she'd become a completely new person. I mean, she was always the same person fundamentally, but her hairstyle and her clothing and her look was always changing because she enjoyed the novelty. And again, she was searching for the true, most authentic version of herself. Let's take a look at the second function in an INFP's personality. So we talked a bit about introverted feeling, but what about the second function, extroverted intuition? Well, you should know first off that introverted feeling is an introverted function, so its direction is inward. And again, it's all about finding that authentic self and about advocating for others among other points. But people don't definitely notice that about you right away because you keep it to yourself. Only the people you know really well and who know you really well are going to know that about you. And it'll reveal itself over time with greater depth and intimacy in any relationship. But what people probably notice about you first is the function that you extrovert or show the world. And this function is called extroverted intuition. So, as an intuitive process, right off the bat, it's great at making connections and it makes you an incredible brainstormer. Or if you're not an INFP and you're just watching this video, it makes an INFP an incredible brainstormer. You're great at creative problem solving, at coming up with really interesting ideas, and you get really excited about new possibilities. So, you tend to come up with tons of ideas when you're in other settings, and you like to relate to others when you're discussing new creative ventures or theories or explanations. You like to look below the surface to go deeper and to understand why. And again, it's another reason why you might be interested in personality types, especially when combined with that first function, introverted feeling, because it makes you interested in people. And then this intuitive process also makes you interested in the whys. So you like to put an order around society and understand why people do what they do. And interestingly, Isabel Myers, one of the creators of the Myers-Briggs personality theory, was an INFP, and she helped to take a system that Carl Jung had originally started with his theory when he looked at these mindsets, and she made it practical and helpful for everybody. So in effect, she was problem solving for society and helping people come up with a system that helped them find what they like to do and also help them relate better to others so they could have better relationships. And again, the INFP is sometimes called the healer because they like to help others have more harmonious relationships, and harmony is a big part of who you are as well. But this extroverted intuition makes you a really creative person, makes you think deeply, makes you like theories, but it also makes you want to explore. So one of the best ways that you can grow as a personality type is to continue to explore new options, to try new things. And there will be an aspect of that in your life that you'll always be trying out new things. And that's okay. In fact, extroverted intuition gets most excited again when it's looking at new possibilities and trying out new things. So, kind of like a mouse in a grid or in a maze, you have to explore every nook and cranny and try everything out. I know an INFP counselor has helped me out a lot, and he said he's had like 30 different jobs. And I don't think that's a problem because all those experiences are helpful to him in counseling other people. But in order to find out what was truly him, what was truly authentic, he had to try a bunch of things out. So just know that about yourself. It's okay to explore. And this extroverted intuition is going to make you interested in new ideas, new possibilities, and creativity. And again, if you take extroverted intuition and combine it with introverted feeling, it's going to give you a desire to express yourself creatively. So you're going to want to show that introverted part of yourself to the world, but you probably have some kind of creative hobby through which you can do that. For my mom that I mentioned earlier, it tends to be crafting or sewing, which we'll see connects to the third function we'll look at. But for a lot of INFPs, it might be art. Like it could be drawing arts where you're, working with some kind of medium. You're working with clay, or you're painting, or you're sketching as a cartoonist, or it could be through playing an instrument. John Mayer is a well-known INFP. He's got some of the most soulful licks because he really has this incredible sense of personal expression that comes out in his extroverted intuition. And again, that's the combination of introverted feeling and extroverted intuition. So know that about yourself. Let's take a look at the third function. The third function and aspect of your personality is something called introverted sensing. So you'll notice right off the bat that it's also an introverted function, something that other people can't see unless they get to know you well. And you should also see that if you're looking at the diagram in front of you, it's less powerful in your personality. It definitely plays a role and it can anchor you, but you shouldn't let it control you. You should just pay attention to it to a certain extent, but don't let it control what you do. And if you look at extroverted intuition, which we just took a look at, and then look at introverted sensing, both of these are information gathering processes, and they're somewhat balanced in your personality. But if you tend to do what introverted sensing wants to do, which is to go for security and to stick with routines and with what you're used to value tradition, and do it to the exclusion of extroverted intuition, then you're probably not going to be the happiest camper in the world, because you're happiest when you're exploring new ideas to find that new self. But you need a balance of some safety, some security. Just don't let yourself get tied down. If you get caught in what's called a loop where you're looking for the authentic self, but you're always doing what you're used to and what you're familiar with, then you're not really going to grow. It's probably best for you to explore new things. But again, you're going to want some level of security in your personality. So keep that in mind when you're looking for jobs, when you're getting to know other people. My mom, again, just keep coming back to that. I know you're not my mom, but she's the most familiar INFP. And I know about my mom that she had a variety of jobs as well, but they were all with the same organization. So a good way that she balanced her extroverted intuition and introverted sensing out was that she worked for the same company, but she tried different roles within that company. So she had the security of having the same job, but she also got to explore a bunch of things, which can be a good compromise and middle ground. Just beware of getting stuck in ruts and doing the same thing all the time, because you'll probably be happiest again when you're exploring new possibilities. The last function in your personality, or in an INFP's personality, is extroverted thinking. And you might notice right off the bat that this is the least influential function in your personality, or at least it should be. The crazy thing about the fourth function, or what's called the inferior function, is it has this appeal or this lure because it's usually the one that's the least mature and the one that any personality type has the hardest time controlling, but it draws you in because you want to use it. Extroverted thinking in your personality is a weakness of sorts, again, as it is in all personality types, the fourth function. And you'll probably see extroverted thinking most of the time when you're under stress, when you're overwhelmed. So if all of a sudden you have a lot of sensory tasks to do and a lot of things to take care of, and all the responsibilities of life are weighing down on you, and you're overwhelmed, or you're having a hard time making up your mind about an important decision, then when you're really, really stressed, you might feel like you need to clean the house like crazy, or all of a sudden you have to take care of a lot of really practical chores that aren't the most important thing to take care of at that moment. But that's all you can really think of. I need to clean, I need to organize, I need to take care of everything. Because extroverted thinking is a really logical, practical function that's all about getting things done. And then, again, it'll exert itself when you're under stress. Or you may also have trouble being clear and direct most of the time, but when you're under stress, you might get right to the point and be a bit curt with people when usually you're very kind and considerate in the way you form your words. So extroverted thinking does have an influence on your personality, but you don't want to focus on it as your strength. And you probably don't want to pursue a career that is going to ask you to use extroverted thinking all the time. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to understand yourself and what caused you to do what you do even better, then I'd love to work with you. Head over to personalityadvisor.com and click on the link that says schedule your coaching call and book a time with me where we can talk more about your personality. You can find a link to that site in the description below this video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it, then I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be creating more videos for people just like you on a regular basis. So I look forward to seeing you on the next show.